Hey solos, so I went to Walt Disney World all by myself this August and I want to tell you all about it. Hi everyone, it's Samantha. Olaf may not know who Samantha is, but now you do, and welcome to Disney Solo Magic, the #1 podcast for solo travel to Disney World, now in its second year. So this is a little bonus episode about my recent trip to Disney World. I want to tell you everything that I did, any tips and tricks and other stories and things like that that I think might be good for your own solo trip. And if you want to see pictures and videos and things like that of my trip, yes, I had posted on Instagram during the trip, but I have pictures on Patreon and videos on Patreon. It's for free members as well as paid members, so go and take a look. But this little bonus episode is going to narrate those pictures a little bit and provide some context, and I'm really excited. Now, I am recording in a different place than I normally record. I'm recording in my office midday rather than other places that I record in the middle of the night. So hopefully the audio is good. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, so I went to Disney this August. I have provided some of this context before, but I was going to go at the end of August, which is my birthday, and I've gone the last few years for my birthday, and it was also D23. And I thought it'd be really cool to go to D23, and that was the plan, but I didn't get a ticket. So I knew I wanted to go to Disney sometime this summer. I didn't really want it to be a Halloween trip, but then I got an invitation to join some new friends on a VIP tour, and I was like, yeah, I think I can make that work. I think I can switch my travel to this weekend, and so that's what I did, which was great. I don't have an annual pass anymore because the annual pass discount for events like Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party or the after evening events, I can't remember what they're called. The discounts are so low that I thought it would be a cool thing to do for the year just to kind of focus on those extra events. So when I was planning this particular trip, I knew I was going to have my big VIP day, but then I really wanted to focus on like just the resorts kind of. And so that was kind of interesting because what I learned about myself is that even though I often think of me having very quiet, relaxing time at resorts, because I've had the annual pass, there is always this element where I am expecting that I'm going to go to the parks, or I should go to the parks, or I'm rushing to get to the parks. And because I didn't have park tickets for the majority of the trip that I went on, it was only 4 days, but still, I really had to slow down. And it was really interesting to learn that about myself, but two, it was really nice to have this really calm time, like actual calm time, and not this calm time but also have this kind of inner clock about like, well, I have to get to this reservation and I need this lightning lane and I need to book that and blah 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 blah. So that was pretty cool. I get to MCO and I take Mears. I always think that Mears is the best thing to do when you're solo. Taking an Uber or a Lyft is like double the cost. And because I usually fly in early in the morning, the extra time that it takes to go by Mears is kind of nice. I can just kind of relax a little in my brain before I get to the resort. I also, look, I don't have any issues with Lyft or Uber in terms of safety, but the idea of having a driver drop you off at a hotel to be like, okay, I'm now going to be here for 5 days by myself or 4 days or whatever, I don't know. I think there's a little bit of a risk, although I've never actually had an issue with any Lyft or Uber drivers. And this trip, I started at All Star Sports. I have never stayed at All Star Sports before, and I really have always kind of thought All Star Sports was going to be, I don't know, I'm not really a sporty type of gal, so I just kind of like thought of it as kind of dark and smelly and masculine. I was wrong. It was great. I've booked another trip for December, and I've booked All Star Sports for then as well because I was really charmed. It was very bright, and for the most part, I met some really great cast members. I checked in, and they told me I had been pixie dusted, which means that I got a little bonus. I did an episode on pixie dusting as a bonus episode for Patreon paid members last month, and they told me that rather than just get a standard room with 2 double beds, I got a preferred room with a king bed. Preferred room just means that you are closer to the main building where there's food and to the main pool. I have talked on this podcast a lot about not swimming in the main pools at the All-Star hotels or Pop Century because it just feels like it's for kids, but I will talk about how I did swim in the All-Star Sports pool on day 2. Now, I've also talked a lot about how the first thing I like to do lately when I get to Disney World is to go immediately to the Vineland Outlet Mall and go to the Disney Character Warehouse. So you can get a lot of merchandise from, like, for example, they had a ton of all the prizes and stuff from the scavenger hunt, from the Flower and Garden Festival from Epcot. All of those prizes that you were paying $10, $11 for if you did the scavenger hunt were there for 50 cents, $1. I like the thing is you can't go in expecting to get anything, but when you do, it's a nice big coup. And what I found actually is this dress I was looking at on the Shop Disney website for $65 American was at the store for $25 American. So yay, that was great. And then I bought some other things I didn't need. But what was really awesome is that I was able to meet up with Francine, who is a friend of the podcast. She's done a solo story. She's going to come on and do another solo story. And that was really awesome. We went to Starbucks. We talked for an hour and then she continued to shop and I went back to the hotel. And yeah, it was so nice to meet her. It's been really nice over the last 6 months, I guess, to go to Disney and meet people that I have connected with because of the podcast. That's been really nice. And what's also nice is that we have some boundaries kind of implicitly laid out because we met over a solo Disney podcast. We both know that it's not going to be the whole time we're going to hang out together. It's going to be these like little pockets of time and then we move on. So yeah, that was really nice to meet her. And we were going to try and meet up later on, but the timing just wasn't going to work. I went back to my hotel, I took a little nap, and then I wanted to go to eat at the lounge at Fort Wilderness. I wanted to go take the boat over there because for my birthday the last 2 years I've stayed there, so I just have such nice memories. I wanted to go and see if I could just like walk around and see some deer, and they have this great fried green tomato sandwich at the Crockert's Tavern, I think that's what it's called, and yeah, I just thought that would be great. And then after that, I wanted to go over to the Contemporary and see if I could see the fireworks. So that was my plan. So it started to rain, which felt like it was going to change the plan, but not really. And I take the boat over to Fort Wilderness and I'm talking with this mother and her child about their experience staying at Fort Wilderness. And she just said, I'm really unhappy with the building that's happening. And that was the other thing. I did kind of want to go see what the new tower was going to look like for Fort Wilderness. A lot of people, myself included, were not super pleased with the Polynesian Tower, but then once it was built, for myself, I'll speak for myself, I was like, oh, great, I love this. I think it looks great. So I was kind of interested in the Fort Wilderness building. Oh, it made me really sad. I don't even want to get into it. I felt so sad. I couldn't believe it's basically like DVC eating up all of Fort Wilderness, and it's going to change so much. So I want to talk more about that. I couldn't eat at the tavern. I mean, I guess I could have eaten at the tavern, but I wanted to eat and look at the water, and there is no more water view from the quick service or the lounge because of the building. So instead, I get back on the boat and I go to Wilderness Lodge instead because I'm in my head, I wanted some wilderness. And I ate at the Geysers Point Bar and Grill, which is an indoor-outdoor restaurant lounge, really comfortable to eat solo. I had a great burger, I had some nice dessert, and it was pouring rain, but I didn't get wet at all. And because it was raining, I didn't go over to Contemporary, but I thought, why don't I just stay here at Wilderness Lodge and look around and look at some of the things I talked about on the podcast episode a few weeks ago on Wilderness Lodge, and to see if I can see anything else. And that's what I did, and it was great. It was so cool. It was really cool. I went all the way up to the top level and looked down and got to see so many details that I hadn't seen before. I don't think it would have changed my episode at all, but I do certainly appreciate the aesthetics more than I think I did before I recorded. Then, even though I had my shopping fix out, I could not get the little pink Minnie Mouse ghost out of my brain. So I took the bus over to Disney Springs just to see if she was available, the little Loungefly backpack. I don't even use Loungefly, but there's a ghost holding a cat. I like cats, I like ghosts, I like pink. Oh my God, you know? So I get there. I wasn't overly enamored by the backpack. That's excellent. There was a pillow there that I really loved, but I'm not bringing a pillow home. But I did find a mug that had the same part of the same collection. And so that seemed like a very practical purchase. So I got the mug and I felt good about that. The whole time, again, it was raining, but it didn't ruin the trip too much for me, like ruin that day or that evening pretty much for me. I went home after that and I didn't feel overly soaking wet. I was able to kind of go in and out very well. Okay, so the next day, Saturday, I was going on this VIP tour, and it started at 3 p.m., but we were kind of meeting around 2 p.m., so I had the whole morning, and I had a reservation at GO 82, and I really thought I would have enough time. I thought it would be tight, but I thought having that reservation was, like, important enough to do the rushing. But when I woke up that morning, I just thought, why rush? You know, I can get a reservation there another time. That's okay. It's really sunny. I want to conserve my energy for the tour, you know, because I'll be with other people. I won't be able to do my normal breaks and all that stuff. So I just decided to chill at the resort all morning. I went and I ordered this tachos bowl, like a tater tot bowl with eggs, guacamole, black beans, tomatoes. Not guacamole, like actual pieces of avocado. It was delicious. It was so good. I was very impressed with how delicious it was. And I just like sat out by the water eating this breakfast and taking in All-Star Sports, which is not something I thought I would ever say. And then again, I was like, well, I have a couple hours. What do I do? And I'm like, I'm in a preferred room, so I'm very close to the pool. Why don't I get my bathing suit on and just like hang out in the pool? The pool wasn't super busy yet, but by the time I got out of the pool, people definitely had encroached on my little spot. And that's what I did. I bobbed in the pool for like an hour and it was so great. It was so great and so relaxing. And again, it really taught me about how much I think I'm relaxing, but I'm really going the whole time. And it really put some things in perspective for me about when I take these solo vacations, the importance of taking care of myself. As much as I think I'm doing it, it's usually my body being like, no, you need to take a break now, versus me saying, this would be, actually, Francine said that when I had met her the day before. She was like, I keep reminding myself, this is a vacation. It's okay if I sleep in. It's okay if I do this. And yes, like, you know, the idea of the money of it all seems like you have to do everything, but I just realized I'm going to appreciate the day a lot more if I just relax. And so that was great, and I highly recommend it, solos. Oh, and I should also say that it did not feel awkward in the pool. I certainly wouldn't go in the big all-star pools, like in the evening or whatever, because there's just going to be too many kids. But it was actually really sweet to see a whole bunch of adults, like couples, that were just like bobbing along and talking and then being like sillier maybe than they normally were with the kids that they were with, whether they were children or nieces or nephews or grandchildren. It was really nice, and there was nothing about it that made me feel awkward about being there alone. All right, so then I head to Animal Kingdom to meet the group for a tour. So I was invited by a friend. It wasn't capital I invited, but I was lowercase I invited by a friend, Matt Richardson. He is a friend of the podcast. He's been on a few times, and we've met in person as well when we were at Disney at the same time in April. And he brought together a really nice group of people. It was so great to meet everyone. And I was able to ride rides that I don't normally ride. So I rode Flight of Passage, which I've never done before, Rise of the Resistance, which I've never done before, Tron, which I've never done before. And it was cool to experience that with other people who were excited about me trying it for the first time. But none of those rides were rides that I was like, oh, I definitely need to do this again, because I already knew those rides weren't going to be like the rides that I necessarily wanted to ride. And obviously we talk about solo travel on this podcast, and here I was with a group of 11 people, the 10 people on the tour plus an amazing tour guide. And I was like, well, what does this feel like in relationship to the solo trips? And I just kept thinking to myself, it isn't the solo trip itself, it is enjoying Disney that is prioritized. And that if you are enjoying Disney with people who enjoy it the same level as you do, then it's great to be with other people. But if you can't enjoy Disney the way you want to enjoy it, then a solo trip is important for you to enjoy it the way you want to enjoy it. So I loved the whole time with everybody else, but it was a different experience than doing it solo. Obviously, right? And it was cool to be able to do things I wouldn't have done solo, but to be able to do it with everyone and be really excited about that. So that was really cool. One of the things we also got to do was to see the Starlight Parade, and we stood in a VIP area. Now the Starlight Parade runs twice a night, at 9 p.m. and 11 p.m. And at 9 p.m., it is the platform that is by the train station, like on the second level. But at 11 p.m., that area is not closed off for VIP. So if you want that VIP type of a spot, go to the 11 p.m. show, and you can still see it from that same location. So that is a trick and a tip. The other thing is, we were really worried about the tour or the parade getting canceled, because it would get canceled if it was raining, because there's dancers on the street. So it didn't get canceled, but it got delayed. And they announced that it was going to be delayed, but it didn't tell you when it was going to be delayed until. Luckily, we were with a tour guide who was able to find out word on the street. So we had an idea about how long we were going to wait. But here's the other thing I want to tell you. Because the parade was delayed, the fireworks were also delayed. So the parade was delayed by 15 minutes and the fireworks were also delayed by 15 minutes. They did not announce that. So we knew we were okay because we had a tour guide telling us, but if you were there and you're like, how come the fireworks aren't going? They were delayed because of the parade. The fireworks get canceled if there's lightning, not if there's rain. Now, the next day, I went to Contemporary to watch the fireworks there, and they were delayed by about 20 minutes. Now, I wasn't worried because it wasn't raining, it wasn't lightning, and I knew from the day before that the fireworks would get delayed if the parade was delayed because of rain. So a lot of people kind of left, and I didn't. So actually, I'll tell you in a second, but that didn't actually change anything for me. But just so you know, if you are going and you're like, how come it's delayed? It's because of the other types of things. Again, if you want to know the ins and the outs of the VIP tour, you can become a member of Patreon, and I'll be doing an episode for paid members, and that will come out on the Labor Day weekend, aka my birthday. So day 3 and day 4, I was leaving at 9 p.m. on day 4. I thought, why don't I splurge on a hotel? And I went and stayed at the Deluxe Animal Kingdom Lodge, and I booked that through a third-party DVC rental company. And it wound up being only $100 more than All-Star Sports. And the idea was that I would spend day 3 and day 4 at Animal Kingdom Lodge getting as much deluxe-ness as I possibly could. So I have already planned the Animal Kingdom Lodge episode to come out like on my birthday weekend. And so you'll hear all about Animal Kingdom Lodge on that episode in 2 weeks. But I did find it interesting that I didn't really get to see anything different than if I just came for the day versus staying there overnight. So just something to know. Just something to know if you, like me, don't usually have a deluxe hotel budget. So as soon as I got to the hotel, I went and changed into my bathing suit and went over to the pool bar and had some lunch, and the cast members were really great. I did a little bit of swimming, but the pool was pretty busy. I did go down the water slide because obviously, and I took a nap once I got in my room. One thing that's nice about deluxe resorts is that they all have balconies, and I love a balcony. So I opened the door to like the sliding glass door as soon as I got there, and to be honest, the door didn't really close the whole time I was there, and I loved that. I loved having the breeze from outside come into the room, and I don't know, it just felt very relaxing. For dinner, I did mobile order to get a bread service. If you know, you know. At the Animal Kingdom Lodge, they're known for their bread service with all these different dips. Now, I will say I really enjoyed having that as a dinner back in my room with the door open and all that stuff. I didn't face the savannah. I did face the pool, and it was great. I didn't mind that at all. No, I did enjoy it, but if you've never done the bread service before, I would not recommend starting with mobile order. Definitely go and have it at the table and have them explain it to you. It really is a good part of the experience. So it was just me eating the dips and the breads all by myself in the room, which I loved, but I missed having that narration of this is this bread and this is this dip and all that stuff. So if you've never done it before, don't do it mobile order the first time. Do it at the restaurants first time. And there are a few table service restaurants at Animal Kingdom Lodge, and they all have the bread service. So I was just going to hang out at the hotel in the evening, but I just thought, okay, I've taken a little nap. Why don't you go try the Contemporary again? So one of the things I've talked about on the podcast is that I was like, there are 2 viewing platforms up where the California Grill is. One is just for California Grill, but the other one is actually open. You can take the stairs all the way up there. It's closed, however, if they're doing the event Sip, Savor, and Sparkle. So I wanted to just go see how open that platform was and whether or not there are other places that you can see the fireworks from the Contemporary. I talked in the Contemporary episode that on the 4th floor there's actually seating there, but I don't think that seating is that good. So I wanted to go see if I can see something higher up. So I get to the Contemporary and I ask at the check-in desk for California Grill if that event was running. She said it was. So I was like, okay, well, I'm not going up to the 14th floor, but I was like, how high can I get? So I took the elevator up to the 11th floor, whatever, just to check. And yeah, I walked right along the hallway to the the emergency exits. There are no alarms that go off, and I am on the stairway and I can see the fireworks great. And it was great. The first platform I came out on, there was actually a mom and her son. So I just walked up the stairs a little bit more and I went to the next one. And there was a man that joined me midway through. He was an older man who went solo, and he was telling me all about his solo trips, which was pretty cool. But once the fireworks started, we just didn't keep talking and we just enjoyed the fireworks. And it's 100% my new favorite place to watch fireworks. 100%. There were people on the 4th floor. I could see the other side where there is a stairwell, and there were people there too. But a lot of them, like I said, just kind of went away once there was a delay with the fireworks. I don't know how many people were on our side of the stairs, but by and large, I was by myself enjoying the fireworks all by myself. It was great. They piped the music in on the 4th floor. They also piped the music in on the 14th floor. And so I was able to hear the music, and maybe cry, as as we all do. So definitely go check that out. And then I had called a friend and he was like, "Where are you? This seems so unsafe." And it does look unsafe, but it's 100% not. I was worried I was going to get kind of locked out on the stairway, which would be very bad, like fire management. But no, it was really easy. Nobody bugged me. It was great. After that, and I did make a video about this, I found out where the contemporary gym was. So I was on the 4th floor where the big mural is and the monorail. I take the escalator down, and this is where all of the ballrooms are and the conference rooms and all that stuff. And I said to a cleaner that was there, "Hi, where's the gym?" And he said, "On the 3rd floor." And I said, "Well, aren't I on the 3rd floor?" And he said, "No, you're on the 2nd floor." And then I pointed up to where the monorail was. And I said, "Well, isn't that the 3rd floor?" And he said, "No, that's the 4th floor." And I was like, "Well, where's the 3rd floor?" And he said, "You got to take those elevators to the 3rd floor." And so I didn't quite get it. So I had to do the whole thing with him again. And I said, "Oh, tricky." And he just like winked at me. And it was funny because he was wearing a mask. So like I couldn't really see his facial expressions that well. But he just winked at me and I was like, tricky. So I went up to the 3rd floor on the elevator and the gym was right there. So I did a little video about that while I was there. Anyway, there you go. That's where the gym is. Oh gosh, it just bugged me so much. All right, day 4 was my last full day at Disney at all. Like I said, my flight was at 9 p.m. And when I go back to the airport, I usually take an Uber because I can get there with like in two, even though it's international and you're supposed to be there like 3.5 hours before, I get there like an hour and a half, 2 hours before. Especially this time I didn't have any bags. It was very, very easy. And I had slept with the balcony door open, which was amazing. And I didn't even have breakfast. I just had the leftovers from the bread service. And I packed, which was a feat of physics to get all my stuff into one bag. And then I hung out at the pool. Now, I was staying at the Kidani House, which is the DVC building. But I went over to Jumbo House, which is the regular deluxe hotel, and it's a much bigger property. And I hung out at the pool all day long. They do have a lot of lawn chairs, like pool chairs, but I found this like really shady little place by the baby pool. There wasn't really anybody there all day. I hung out in the baby pool in the shade, in the sun. I would go into the water every once in a while. I went down the water slide that was there. It was so relaxing. I had my favorite lunch, which is the combination plate from the Mara that's there, the quick service restaurant. A+. It was just amazing. I went back to the Kidani House and I had lunch or dinner in the lounge. It was a curry. It was fine. The ambiance and the cast member that served me weren't, I don't know, the best. But it was such a nice, I already felt so relaxed from the day. I then went out and like watched the savannah as long as I could before I had to call the Uber. And it just was such a calm day. And it really did feel like the morning at All Star Sports, just like nowhere to be, just really centered and relaxed. And it was great. The flight home was so easy. There was 23 of us on a big giant 747. I had the front seat. There was a very cool lightning show that the pilot was like, "If you look on the left, you'll see about 80 miles away. Don't worry, it's not going to affect us at all. There's just an amazing lightning thing, like a show." He called it a show. And it's just amazing. So that was amazing to watch. And then about an hour later, I look out my window and the moon is like right there in my window. It was just gorgeous. And then when we were flying into Toronto, I've never really noticed this or seen this. Maybe it's because I usually have an aisle seat, but we flew right over Toronto and I was able to actually see my street, which was really, really special. And I text messaged my nephew who was coming to stay with me the next day the video of Toronto, of the lightning storm, of the pictures of the moon, and he's never really traveled. Like, coming to Toronto is a big deal for him. Oh, by the way, some people have asked this. I talk about my sister living in Italy. She does. I also talk about my nieces and nephews. They are all the kids of my cousins. So there you go. And it was really cool to share that flight with him by sending him those pictures and being like, I'm on my way to you. We had a really fun time. We did museums and we saw a musical and we explored Toronto and ate really good food. And yeah, it's really been nonstop. So yeah, it was a really great solo trip. I'm glad there was a lot of downtime. It was cool to do a VIP tour and meet up with people and ride rides I hadn't been to before. And it was a nice kind of refreshing type of Disney trip, which is not something you usually say about a Disney trip that happens in August. So there you go. If you want to see pictures, go on Patreon. Again, it's for all members, whether or not you're free or you're paid. Thank you for becoming members, whether or not you're a paid member or a free member. It's nice to see those numbers growing. I know they are small but humble, but I know that there are people that really kind of care about the idea of solo travel that we're talking about, and it's really nice to see those numbers and that kind of community of people growing and just acknowledging the work. So thank you very much. And next week we're going to be talking about Grand Floridian. Farah Roshan is the solo story guest again, which is really great. There's going to be a bonus episode about DVC solo ownership also coming out next week. And there's going to be a bonus episode that's going to be on the Patreon, but for free and paid members, about an experience going to Victoria and Albert solo. So a lot of stuff coming next week. I think that's it. Until next time, bye.